was really in a bind when I was young because I was like, what am I going to do with my life? From the time I was 15 till I was 21, all I did was compete.
It was the buddies that you were actually doing martial arts with that pushed you to do comedy.
Yeah. Everybody was like, what are you doing? And then open mic night, I was probably more scared going on stage the first time than anything I'd ever done, including fighting.
Yeah, and it didn't go well like the
That was terrible. The values that I have for real, not to be supported by a bunch of businesses that are trying to push these things because they're going to profit. Is it because you really care about people, or is it because you're reaping massive profit?
That's the whole thing with the Make America Healthy Again movement. It is not about taking away the freedom of choice. It's about getting some of the corruption, which means there are ways to do this that are just a lot healthier for us.
Well, here's what's crazy. They're saying this is going to kill our business. Bitch, you already make them for other countries that don't have that stuff.
That's the craziest thing.
And you won't do it for us. The best thing about what you do is like live by example, talk about what's healthy, and then the more people hear it, and then they start to act upon that, and then they start feeling better. Because the more influence you have in that regard, the more people will make healthy choices.
I know there's a lot of influencers out there like yourself. What do you think the it factor is that separates the Joe Rogan podcast from the rest of the media by such a margin?
I think what you do and what I do, that's the most important thing is
Hey guys, welcome back to the Ultimate Human Podcast. I'm your host, human biologist Gary Brecka, where we go down the road of everything anti-aging, biohacking, longevity, and everything in between. And today's podcast is definitely going to be in between. Welcoming a UFC commentator, a fighter, a podcaster, a very accomplished comedian, and just an all-around incredible human. Welcome to the podcast, Joe Rogan, brother.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It's been a long time in the making, man. I'm so pumped to sit down with you today, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You know, in Austin, Texas, it's like there's like a real wellness vibe here.
Yeah, there certainly is.
I wouldn't have thought 10 years ago that Austin, Texas would be like the home of wellness. I mean, it's the comedy mothership. I mean, there's like a real wellness vibe here. I mean, there's so many restaurants that are like seed oil free and glyphosate free, and I think they've caught the bug here.
It's a healthy city. You know, it's been a healthy city for a long time. If you go to Lady Bird Lake, there's always people running, and it's a really healthy place. And there's, you know, we started on it here way back in 2010. You know, so there's always been like a fitness. It's a really big jiu-jitsu city too now.
Yeah, but you didn't come until the pandemic, right?
Right. I moved here in 2020. In August of 2020.
Which is, you know, that seems even odd to me too, because, you know, that's height of your comedy career. And I would think, you know, being a comedian, you know, that vibe seems like New York, LA.
Well, they'd shut LA down. That was one of the easiest motivations to move here. They'd shut LA down during the pandemic. And first it was supposed to be 2 weeks. And then by May, you know, so we're talking like March, April, May. By, you know, March, everything shut down. By May, I was already looking to move. I was like, these assholes are never going to let this go.
Yeah, and they locked down hard.
Yeah, they locked down. They wouldn't even let people do outside shows. They wouldn't let us do outside shows in the parking lot of the Comedy Store. They tried to set up a show outside. It didn't make any sense.
Wow.
It wasn't logical. It wasn't reasonable. And the people that were running the government, it was the first time I ever said, oh, it's important who your mayor is. Like, I was like, who gives a shit who the mayor is?
Yeah.
I never cared.
Yeah.
You know, I never even voted for mayor. I was like,
Yeah, the pendulum's swung way too far. I mean, and now you look at the wildfires and just all the nonsense that's happened out there. I mean, it's like an abject failure of leadership.
Pure madness in LA, and they're not gonna course change. They're not gonna course correct.
Yeah.
They're gonna ride that thing right into the rocks.
Yeah, and you just wonder how they're gonna pull out of that. Because, you know, we were out there week before last, and I drove through the Palisades, and it doesn't seem like they've even touched it. I mean, there's nothing.
No, they've done very little so far.
It's just it looks like a third world country out there.
Yeah.
So you moved here during the pandemic, and was this because of your comedy career? Because you just were like, hey, I need.
Well, there was a lot of factors. My kids the youngest kids were 10 and 12 at the time, and I didn't want them growing up in LA already. And it was an opportunity to get out of LA, which I tried to get out of LA in 2009. When my middle daughter, when she was 1, I moved to Colorado for a little bit. But we were in the mountains way above Boulder, and it's really like very high altitude. And my wife got pregnant while we were up there. And then it's really rough on pregnant women to be at like 8,500 feet above sea level. It was, so we had to bail on that. And then when I went back to LA, but I always had it in my mind that I was going to escape.
Yeah. You're going to get out of the taxes and the nonsense.
Well, it's not the I mean, the taxes are one thing, but I would be happy with paying taxes if it made sense. If you guys were doing a great job, and if there wasn't tents on every street corner.
Yeah,
you know, it was so crazy.
Yeah. So you know, for my audience, I want to rewind the clock a little bit. I mean, of course, I think the whole world knows you as a podcast host, and obviously they're familiar with your comedy career and your career at the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to take you back to the early '80s in Boston. And you know, Dana and a lot of people call this the mafia era, right?
Yeah.
I know you weren't in the mafia, but
I actually trained a guy who was a hitman.
Really? Okay. So
yeah, when I was teaching Taekwondo, one of the hitmen for Whitey Bulger was
that's one of the reasons why Dana had to leave that.
Yeah.
Time,
yeah.
Which is so crazy because you know, you guys came from the same place. Now your worlds didn't collide for years later.
Right.
But I find it really interesting that you guys are so close now and your careers are, you know, intertwined, and you guys have been really loyal to each other, but you both came from this mafia area, early Boston 80s. But, you know, my father, he's a salty old Navy captain, has a definition of life. And he says, life is what happens to you when you're on your way to doing something else. And as I was kind of looking through your background, I feel like that's a really good explanation of what happened to you. You started this martial arts career, Taekwondo, right?
Yeah.
And you actually became a Taekwondo champion. I think you won the Massachusetts state?
Yeah, I won that
4 years in a row.
4 years in a row. I won one of the American Opening Championships. I came in second in the U.S. Cup in the year that it was the Olympics. So the guy it was a bad decision. I thought I should have won, but he went on to be the national champion and fight in the Olympics.
Wow. And this was Taekwondo, and it was like your early martial arts career.
Was the first thing. And that was also part of the problem is once I started kickboxing, I realized Taekwondo is kind of silly.
Yeah.
And then I started doing Muay Thai, and then I realized, oh, that's even silly to not have leg kicks. Leg kicks are even more important. And then I started doing jiu-jitsu. I'm like, oh my God, it's all silly.
Yeah.
Because as soon as someone grabs you, you're doomed.
What was the inspiration for that? I mean, early UFC, like Hoist Gracie?
This was before the early UFC. So I was fighting. My last fight, I think, was 89.
Professional fight? Or
it was amateur. I never fought professionally. But then UFC didn't come along until 93. And, you know, I was already, you know, doing stand-up comedy. And at the time, I was just moving to LA. And then I'd watched a videotape of the UFC. I became obsessed. I found UFC 2. It came out on VHS.
Dude, that's when you could just kick in the face when people are down on all fours. I actually remember very vividly somebody's tooth just literally flying out of the ring, going over the octagon. And I remember Hoist Gracie's fights going on for almost 30 minutes.
Yeah, he had some long ones.
As he was after some of those fights.
I think he had a 90-minute one in Pride.
That's insane. Just
insane.
No time limit, no rules.
Yeah. It was a wild time, you know, where they were trying to sort out. And so when I was a kid, there was all these different arguments about what was the best martial art. You know, the judo guys would tell you judo's the best. Boxers would tell you that's the best. No one really knew until the UFC came along. It was all just theory.
Yeah.
And then once Rorion Gracie decided to put together this cage and you know, in the beginning, he wanted to have like a moat around it and have crocodiles.
No, really?
Yeah, it's so crazy.
He wanted to do really medieval shit.
He wanted to make it just completely ridiculous. To be obviously for marketing.
Super gladiator.
Yeah, they had some really wild ideas. But until that first UFC came along, no one really knew what was effective. The Gracies knew more than anybody because they had a bunch of challenge fights that they did in Brazil, and they did Vale Tudo events. You know, Hickson had some pretty big fights in Brazil where they're big audiences.
And were those fights where they could use Muay Thai or any
they could use anything
they
bare
wanted.
Knuckle, you know,
Because I remember at one time when I was younger, I remember Hoist made a statement. He said, "I'm not afraid of any man. I'll fight any man." And I saw him. There was the Hawaiian dude that had the ponytail.
Chemo. Yeah.
Who just looked like an absolute wrecking ball.
It was huge.
He
was
was
260
huge.
pounds, and Hoist was like 175 at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I still remember those. He was on his back and in the guard grabbing his, he grabbed this.
Yeah.
You could grab it back then. You can't do it in the UFC
you
now.
Could grab hair, you could punch in the balls. It was crazy.
Yeah, you could kick in the face on the ground. So this brutal sport's, emerging, and you're working your way through your martial arts career, but at some point, I think you knew, because of your upbringing, you didn't want to be in the construction business. Your dad was an architect, right? And you sort of grew up before you got into martial arts on construction sites.
Yeah.
And I had a similar upbringing. I actually grew up on a tobacco farm. My parents, when I was young, and I hated it, and now all I want to do is get back. So they bought 12 acres in the middle of this like 300-acre tobacco farm, and then they leased the land back to a farmer for $1, and he grew tobacco. So my whole life growing up until I went off to college, I was cutting tobacco.
Where was this?
And this is in Southern Maryland, Upper Marlboro, right outside of PG County. Yeah, most people don't realize it's a big tobacco country there.
Wow, I had no idea,
dude. And it's if you've never seen tobacco get cut, it's the hardest manual labor you'll ever do. It's absolutely brutal.
Really? Why?
Oh yeah.
Why is it so brutal?
Because you cut tobacco in August by hand. So imagine a field like as far as you can see, just rows and rows of these 6-foot tall tobacco plants. 5 of these plants weigh about 60 pounds. And you got to push the plant over and cut it with a machete, push it over, cut it with a machete, push it over, cut it with a machete. And you walk from one end of this field to the other end of the field, and you turn around and come back. It's just brutally monotonous, and it's hot. And the gum gets, you have to shave your arms, you have to wear long sleeves so that tobacco juice doesn't get on you.
Oh, wow. Do you get a nicotine high from like your skin?
You know,
I
don't think so. I never chewed tobacco or dipped tobacco. Like all my buddies like dip tobacco, and now that I know it was in that shit with the glass and everything to cut your lips, it's like,
like skull.
Yeah. It's like when I went back to my 30-year high school reunion, I felt like I was on a different planet. I was like, man, these people look like aliens. I'm so glad I found biohacking. You know, funny. I remember there's one kid. If you're still alive, Ike, I hope you're watching. His name was Ike Moreland, and he owned. I don't even know why I'm going down this road, but I just had a childhood memory come back, and I saw him at my high school reunion, and I'm like, this kid beat me up in the 8th grade. I remember you telling the story about being put in a headlock, and I think it was in high school, and somebody wrenched you to the ground, and he pulled back to punch you in the face, and for some reason, he actually decided not to hit you.
Yeah, he felt sorry for me. He decided not to beat me up.
But at that moment, you realized, I'm so freaking helpless. I got to do something about this.
That's when I started wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to run it again at 50 years old with Ike Moreland, but no, we didn't get you. I'm like, I held on to that grade. I was 14, dude. I'm coming back for payback. But I very much identify with not wanting to do the structured kind of labor as a long-term career.
Well, I also didn't want to have an office job. I was really in a bind, and that was a real dilemma for me when I was young, because I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I had to find something unconventional. I had just too much energy to sit down, which I didn't know at the time. That's a good thing. I just needed to find something else. But no one would ever guide you saying, oh, you should be a comedian or you should be something else.
Yeah.
It was always like you have one path, and that is to get a job.
Yeah.
And Boston was a very blue collar town. It was a very hard working town, and they really respected if you worked hard.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you were lazy, you were shunned. And that's just
not a lot of role models that had broken out of the matrix,
none,
gone and to look up to.
No, they looked at you like you were an alien. Like, what are you trying to do? It just like teaching martial arts at least was kind of respectable. It kind of made sense.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I get it. He's teaching martial arts. So that's what I did until I was 21. And then when I started doing stand-up comedy, I realized like I've got to pick a path. I can't be doing I can't have one foot in each world.
Right.
And I realized
it was the buddies that you were actually doing martial arts with that pushed you to do comedy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was the guys that I was.
Because you were the funny guy in the locker room before fights, exactly. Like trying to take the tension off.
We would go to tournaments and everybody would be so scared. It was like there was so much anxiety and fear in the air that I would have to cut the night. I would have to cut it. I'd be the guy that would be cracking everybody up, try to break the tension.
But I think there's a big difference between chopping it up with your boys and walking on stage in front of an audience.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah,
that was my thought. Like, you guys think I'm funny because you're all a bunch of psychopaths.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, was it like a sobering moment going up on that stage for the first time and going, shit, I gotta say something.
Well, I thought about it for a long time because I waited until I was 21 to get into a bar. Because, that was the age that you could get into a bar. So I didn't think I could do. They actually let some people in before they're 21. You just have to get like an exemption from the club. They have to make sure that you don't drink, but I didn't know that. So I had about 6 months where I was contemplating it, where I wrote material down and, and tried it out on my friends and thought about doing it. And they were like, what are you doing? Like everybody was like, what are you doing? And then open mic night, I was probably more scared going on stage the first time than anything I'd ever done, including fighting. And I remember thinking, boy, this doesn't make any sense. Like I'd probably fought 100 times by then. And I was like, this is so weird because from the time I was 15 till I was 21, all I did was compete. I traveled all over the country. I fought almost every weekend or every other weekend, once a month for sure. I was always competing. And you fight multiple times in a day.
Wow.
And I wasn't scared of that. Like I was scared of that, but not like I was of stand-up. Stand-up, I was fucking petrified.
Yeah, and it didn't go well like the first one.
That was terrible.
So that's like even reinforces the fear.
But nobody was doing well. That was the other thing. It was like everybody bombs on open mic night, which is the good thing because you realize like as bad as you are, like at least I'm not as bad as that guy.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, he really bombed.
It's like you're just trying to get a couple chuckles, and then I got a couple chuckles. And I was like, I think I can do this. And then the second time I went on stage, I actually got laughs because I was more comfortable. I was less scared and I was more loose. And then I bombed the third time. And then, it takes a while. You have to figure it out.
Yeah, because this is, the big move to LA was for comedy. Right?
I only moved to LA because I got a development deal. I was living in New York at the time, and I was doing stand-up, and I got on something called the MTV half-hour comedy hour. And you do like 10 minutes or something like that. And there was a bunch of comedians, and it went really well. And I got a development deal, which is some weird thing where they give you a pile of money. Like for the first time in my life, I think it was $150,000.
Wow.
I had money. I was like, this is crazy. I have money. And then they wanted me to do a sitcom for this development deal. So, okay. So then I came out to LA and I did this sitcom, and I didn't even like doing it. I hated it. And I wanted to go back to New York, but I had got a lease on an apartment. So I'm like, well, I got to stay out here a year. And then after that show got canceled, I was still there because of my lease. And then I got another development deal to do this thing at NBC. And that turned out to be how I got news radio. So that was with Phil Hartman, Andy Dick, and all those super talented people. And I did that for 5 years. And then Fear Factor. It's just like, all the while I was still doing stand-up at the Comedy Store. But it was, I didn't come out to LA for anything other than money. It was just, I couldn't believe that you could get $25,000 for a week of work. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, this is crazy. And so when you're out there, I remember you talking about Fear Factor as being like something you thought would never take off.
Yeah,
like,
I did it because
you're like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
I'm like, we're gonna stick dogs on people and make them eat dicks. Like, I'm in.
And cockroaches.
Like, all I was thinking, like, this is gonna be great material. I'm gonna have some great material out of this.
I love the show. What finally blew it up? They did some stunt that was like inappropriate, but I forget what it was.
Well, that was the second time we did it. So we did it for 6 years. So we did 148 episodes for 6 years. Then we came back again. I think it was 2011. Because my youngest daughter was 1 at the time, and that was 6 episodes, and then they made them drink donkey cum. They had to play horseshoes to see how much donkey cum you had to drink. And there's only been 2 times when I did that show where I told the producers, hey, man, you can't do this.
This is like...
And that was one of them.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, is how do you get donkey cum?
Yeah, well, you actually use a cattle prod, and you stick it up,
up the
donkey's butt, and then you shock their prostate, and they just bust. And then you collect it, and then you get some poor kid who's got credit card debt, and that kid is on Fear Factor to try to pay off his credit card debt. Generally,
dude, I want to be a fly on the room. I mean, on the wall in the producer's room.
It was a fun room.
I got a great idea, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take a cattle prod.
Well,
up a donkey's ass.
The second time we did it,
we're
we
gonna
came back. So we stopped doing it in 2007, and it didn't even really get canceled. I mean, I guess it got canceled because they never did it again. But they just stopped doing it. We did so many of them. It was just everyone was worn out. Like I said, we did 148 episodes in 6 years, and then they waited like 5 years, and then I get this phone call. Do you want to do Fear Factor again? I was like, oh my God. Are you guys serious? And then I went in to meet with them. It's going to be bigger than ever and this and that, and only you can host it. And blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And, my kids were young at the time. I was like, I probably could use this money. All right, let's do it. And again, I was like, this time I was right. I was like, this is not going to last. And I was correct that time because they were going way too far the second time because they were trying to make it bigger and crazier than ever. I'm like, someone's going to get hurt. Luckily, no one really did. But the other time that I said don't do it, other than the donkey jizz, was they had to ride bulls. When they had to ride bulls, I was like, don't do this.
Yeah. Somebody's going to really get hurt.
This is so
Did
funny.
they do that episode?
Yeah, they did that episode.
Really?
We just got lucky that no one got hurt.
Yeah. I mean, that you can get really jacked up.
Oh, yeah. These are real bulls too, man.
And nobody knew what they were doing riding a bull.
No. God. They'd say, hold on. Okay. That was the height of reality TV in,
it was the genesis of it, really.
So Survivor was the big one, right? So Survivor happened first, and everybody was all into these reality shows. And there was a show called Now or Neverland that was in Holland. And NBC purchased that, or Endemol purchased that show, and then brought it to America and changed the name to Fear Factor.
Wow. So what time does the early commentating for the UFC?
97. I started before Fear Factor. While I was on news radio, Campbell McLaren, who was one of the producers of the UFC, was good friends with my manager, Jeff. And they were just having a conversation about how they needed a new post-fight interviewer because they got rid of the guy they had. And Jeff was like, Joe loves the UFC. And I was like, first I was, I watched it. You couldn't even get it on cable TV. It was banned from cable. So you had to get direct TV to get it because they like Budweiser and John McCain, they were doing some shady shit to ban it. They were calling it human cockfighting. And they contacted me and said, we need someone to be a post-fight interview. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
And then I went to Dothan, Alabama. We were supposed to do it in, I think it was Albany, New York. Albany or Buffalo.
Because it wasn't sanctioned, right? I mean, obviously.
No. It was New York State banned it, like right before we did it. So we got sent down. They had a backup plan. The backup plan was Alabama. So we went to this place in Dothan, Alabama. That was UFC 12.
Oh my God.
1997. And I did that for about 2 years. But it was actually, at the time, it was actually costing me money because I would do the UFC and I couldn't do comedy that weekend. And so I was making more money doing comedy, but I really loved doing it. But I was like, this is not going anywhere. And it wasn't getting anywhere as far as cable. Like they were really banned.
Yeah.
And then what happened was the Fertitta brothers and Dana came along and purchased it in 2001.
And what UFC was that? Right.
Well, I came back, UFC 37.5 was the first time I did commentary. Before that, I was just doing post-fight interviews. And what happened was, that was 2001, and it was, they were on Fox Sports for the first time. It was like the best damn sports show period. Remember that show?
Yeah, I remember that.
They had an episode that they did where they did the UFC on Fox, and it was like a big thing to have it on Fox Sports.
Yeah, but it was sanctioned then.
It was sanctioned in Vegas. Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened was, the Fertittas were very wealthy, and one of the things my friend Eddie Bravo and I, we'd always said was, you know what the sport needs? Like, we love the sport. What the sport needs is someone to come along that has a ton of money, that just can throw a bunch of money at it and then just show the world how great it is. And then it'll just become successful. And that's what happened. Like, the Fertittas came along, these billionaire guys who loved the sport and were training in the sport, and Dana, and they just came along and put it together. And Dana and I became friends because he was, you know, like inviting celebrities to come. And this is when I was hosting Fear Factor, and it was the #1 show in the world. And he was like, why don't you come and see the fights? I'd be like, I'd love to. When are you having them? It's in Vegas. Then he and I would get together, and I'd go, what about this fight? Do you know about this guy? Have you ever watched these guys fight in Japan? Do you know about Pride? Do you know about Fedor Emelianenko? Have you ever seen all these? And I was like naming all these different fighters, and then he found a tape somewhere of me on the Keenan Ivory Wayne show making fun of like Steven Seagal or something like that and talking about the UFC. Yeah. And then he goes, will you do commentary? And I'm like, I don't want to work, man. I go, I just want to come and watch the fights. Honestly, I don't, because I was like, I had already done that before. It was too much of a pain in the ass.
And it wasn't getting the line in your pockets either. Yeah.
It wasn't.
Here's what I've learned after optimizing thousands of lives. Information without application is just entertainment. That's why I don't just create another course or another program. I've created a living, breathing community that evolves with you. My VIP community isn't just about what you get, it's about who you become. Every month, I'm live on video calls answering your specific questions, not generic health advice, but targeted solutions for your unique biochemistry and your goals. You're getting decades of human optimization experience distilled down into actionable steps for your life. But here's the game changer. You're not doing this alone. You're joining a community of like-minded individuals who are all committed to becoming their ultimate selves. When you're facing challenges, when you need accountability, when you want to celebrate the wins, they're there with you. You can find this section under Connect and Discuss in the community. And the value? It's ridiculous. You're getting my personal protocols that took me years to develop, my water fasting methodology, my gut health strategies, my optimization routines, all for less than what most people spend on coffee in a month. Plus massive VIP discounts on biohacking products, supplements that I personally use and personally recommend. My members often save more on products than they pay for the membership. The 10-month Becoming the Ultimate Human course alone is worth the entire annual membership. Add in the quarterly challenges with top experts, the exclusive podcast segments, and direct access to me, and you're looking at thousands of dollars in value. This isn't just an investment in information, it's an investment in transformation. Join the VIP community at theultimatehuman.com/VIP and unlock the ultimate version of yourself, because average isn't an option when excellence is available. Now let's get back to the Ultimate Human podcast.
So I did it for just for Dana, because we're friends. And then I kept doing them. And I did like the first 13 or 14 of them I did for free.
After they bought it.
Yeah. I said, okay, let's just get me plane flights and get my friends tickets, and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so I did a bunch because they were hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
And, I was friends with Dana, so he was telling me how much money they were losing. I'm like, oh, Jesus. So by the time the UFC took off in 2005, they were in the hole. So I'd been working for them for 4 years at the time. They were in the hole $40 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And this was this one thing where they did the Ultimate Fighter. They go, look, we're going to put together a reality show. They couldn't get it aired. They had to pay for all the sponsors. They had to bankroll the entire show.
Wow.
And they said, this is it. We're going to get one shot. And if this doesn't work, we're fucked.
Yeah.
It worked. And Forrest Griffin versus Stephan Bonner.
I remember that
crazy fight. It was so crazy that the whole world started tuning in.
I remember he gave him both contracts at the end of that fight. I remember
it was so close.
It
was such a close fight. It was a perfect fight to introduce people to the UFC. And then next thing you know, it became huge.
Yeah. And back then it was like nobody was a full-time UFC fighter. They're like, it's Rich Franklin, a history teacher from
he was a math teacher.
Or math teacher. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And this guy was a
Ohio.
cop, a firefighter. Yep. This guy was.
Yeah, there was no full-time fighters at the time. Well, there's probably a few that figured it out. I think Frank Shamrock was full-time. There's a few guys that were like legitimately full-time, but it was a hard way to make a living. And, it was like human cockfighting. Nobody respected it. It was like, You know, when I would tell my friends when I was working on news radio, and I would tell my friends that I was going to do these UFC events, they're like, why are you doing that? Like, you shouldn't be associated with that. It was almost like you're doing snuff films or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why are you connecting yourself to something so shady?
And then it just became the fastest growing sanctioned sport in the world. I think it still is.
It's absolutely huge.
I read something about the opening in Asia and that it returned it to the fastest growing sport in the world.
So that was 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, it popped.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you just never stopped.
No.
And you know, there's rumors that, you know, you and Dana have been so loyal to each other that your contract in the UFC was, if one goes, you both go.
That's mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they get rid of him, I'm gone.
Wow. That's, you know, I find Dana to be one of the most loyal human beings in the world. He's done a lot for me.
He's an awesome dude. I love him to death.
I love him to death.
He's just a great guy, and the perfect guy to be at the head of such a chaotic sport, because the sport is so crazy. It's like you need a maniac at the helm.
And you also need somebody whose compass doesn't shift. I mean, you see all these reporters trying to knock him off track all the time, and he just puts him right back in check.
Well, he doesn't give a fuck. He really doesn't. He has real fuck you money, and I've always said, if you have fuck you money and you don't say fuck you, you're wasting all that fuck you money. You know, because the only reason to have it is to be able to do whatever you actually want.
Yeah.
And the guy loves fights. He and I will have conversations where I'll call him up like 1 o'clock in the morning and we'll have like a fight talk for like 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, he actually just loves the sport.
Loves it.
Yeah.
He loves it.
And he knows the sport.
He loves it.
Yeah.
But he only watches the UFC. So I'm always telling him about all these guys that are fighting in Japan. This guy's fighting in Russia. You pay attention to this guy.
And was that a big part of what helped build the UFC? Because you started grabbing people from like Pride leagues and...
Well, they purchased Pride. That was the big thing, is the UFC came along and purchased Pride, but they got screwed because really they just bought a tape library. You know, they thought they were buying all the fighters and the contracts, but all the contracts were invalid. So then they had to like restructure everything.
Oh my God.
So that's why they never got Fedor.
Yeah.
But, you know, they put out an amazing product, and Japan was putting out, like when they were doing Pride, Japan had 80,000 people showing up at these arenas. When the UFC was in relative obscurity, it was massive in Japan. I mean, absolutely massive.
The Pride fight.
Yeah. And to this day, there's some of the greatest fights of all time. You go watch the glory days of MMA and Pride. And this, not only did they have like soccer kicks and stomps on the ground, they also had no steroid testing at all. So everybody was sauced to the gills.
Yeah.
And they looked at it was a great product.
Who was the big Hawaiian that just had that crazy overhand? Can't think of his name. He looks like the dude that's in Slap. I can't think of his name, but I just remember he had the insane. There's so many like crazy characters that came out of that, like Tank Abbott and like all these just crazy, bigger than life characters. I remember there was this one Greco-Roman wrestler with a mustache that used to just
Dan Severn.
Yeah, Dan Severn.
Yeah.
Used to, I mean, he looked like he was 50 years old. And he just,
Dan fought into his 50s.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
he was like,
did. He fought into his 50s.
Like the scariest dad ever. You know what I mean? He had this big bushy hair and he had this handlebar mustache and he was kind of like super stoic, like Fedor Emelianenko, you know, he just kind of looked like he was bored to be there.
And there's Don Fry. He had another great mustache. He was another one.
Oh, I remember Don Fry too.
He fought in Pride as well. He had some amazing fights in Pride.
Yeah, but and then that Greco-Roman wrestling stuff was wild. The pickup and the reverse body slams, and he was just picking up.
Yeah, Greco was a particularly good wrestling style for MMA because it was a lot of clinch-based work, and when you're up against the cage, a guy who's really good at upper body clinches and controlling up, like Randy Couture, he was a Greco guy as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, so was Dan Henderson was Greco. Like a lot of these guys. I mean, they all had a background in everything. They could do all kinds of wrestling, but
yeah, Randy fought pretty late too. He was in his late 40s. I actually remember his tooth flying out of the ring too.
Yes.
Who was the
Lyoto Machida? He caught him with a jumping front kick in the face.
Front kick. I'll never forget that.
I think that was in Montreal. Yeah.
Mouthpiece.
That was it was in Toronto. Maybe it was in Toronto. There was an enormous event we did that was like 60,000 people up there.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was Toronto.
And you think like images like that helped it or hurt it? I think it's kind of like Slap. You can't turn away. And
well,
so just brought.
Except it was a fight. were slap to me. Slap's not my thing.
No.
But the just standing there and letting a guy smack you in the face is fucking
Well, you
crazy.
hold a foam roller behind your back.
I will watch it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll watch
it, but I really prefer actual fights.
You know, and if you flinch, don't you get slapped again?
Do you?
I think you get slapped again if you flinch.
Why do they put the powder in their hand? Like
I think you're supposed to see the whole I think you got to see the whole handprint, so you're not like just palm striking or heel striking.
Well,
there are some rules, like feet have to stay on the ground.
They have drug tests, which to me is hilarious. Like, drug those people up.
Yeah.
Like, why are they sober?
Yeah.
If you're getting slapped, you should be on meth.
I think first of all, that's not a coin toss you want to lose, because I would always want to go first.
100%. It doesn't make any sense.
That's part of the strategy.
Part of the problem. It's like you have to be really good at coin tossing.
my kids, Cole and Dylan used to play this game when they were growing up, and it was something like, if I went to hit you and you flinched, I got a free punch.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's kind of slaps kind of like that.
Yeah, a lot of kids did that when I was young. Yeah, 2 for flinching.
Yeah, 2 for flinching. That's what it was. Like, they draw back, and if you flinch, they got 2 shots for flinching. And now they made a sport out of it, which I guess is perfect for social media, because it's like the viral clips of just people.
It's the perfect sport for TikTok. I say sport with air quotes.
Yeah. And then the chicks doing it too just freaks me out.
Yeah.
Now, I actually read some science on
brain damage.
Well, I've read a lot of science on brain damage, but there's literally some science to having a beard.
What?
Do you know that there's like
cushioning?
It's like, this friction coefficient and slightly decelerating the blow.
Listen to me. If Alex Pereira punches you in your beard, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your beard looks like.
But I'd have a big old Santa Claus beard if I was going in there. There's a big Hawaiian heavyweight that has that big old beard.
Yeah. Did you see Josh Emmett fought this past weekend? He has an enormous beard, like big crazy one.
How'd he do?
He lost.
Okay. Well,
it was a good fight, though.
There goes the beard theory of
it was a good fight.
Beard theory of fighting is now out the window.
Yeah.
There has been some crazy beards. So now you're doing commentary for the UFC, and at some point you decided to get into the podcast world. And what I found really fascinating was, initial podcast. I think you guys had like 200 listeners.
Maybe.
And I went back and watched an old podcast with like Eddie Bravo. And you're pretty rusty back then.
Yeah,
right? It's like,
well, it's good for anybody who's like
Bravo,
intimidated.
Here he is, and then you didn't really know what to say.
If anybody's intimidated by podcasting, go back, watch my early ones. They're terrible.
Yeah.
It's like anything else. You do it, you get better at it.
Yeah. I mean, but what made you stick with that versus sticking with comedy, sticking with...
I enjoyed it.
What made you like... Because the point that I'm trying to get to is like you embrace the suck.
Yeah.
I mean...
It didn't suck, though. I enjoyed it. I just thought it would be fun to have like a little internet radio show and talk to my friends. It was not a career move by any stretch of the imagination. It was just fun. Like I always loved doing like the Opie and Anthony show and Howard Stern show. I love doing radio shows. It's fun to be able to hang out with other comedians and talk shit and joke around.
Yeah.
So I just decided to start doing it online. I'd been on Tom Green, had his little internet show that he did from his living room. I was like, oh, this is fascinating. Like, you got to figure, this could be the future.
Yeah.
But I didn't really think of it as a career move. I just did it for fun. And then slowly but surely, it started getting bigger. It was just a matter of just the process.
I think you were one of the early movers to start putting long form content on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, that was a strange thing to think that people would go to YouTube and watch a 45-minute video.
Yeah.
Well,
they're 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Even. I mean, that's long.
But that's just because I didn't care. Like, I didn't like.
Yeah.
My friend Ari, one of my best friends, Ari Shafir, he was like, "You got to edit your show." I go, "Why?" He's like, "No one's gonna listen to 3 hours." I go, "Then they don't have to listen."
Yeah.
Just don't listen.
Yeah.
He's like, "It'd be better if it was like an hour, less than an hour, like 45 minutes." I was like, "Why?" I go, I'll listen to a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
If it's interesting.
And then people started listening.
So I just didn't listen.
And then it started growing.
I just kept doing it. And it slowly but surely, it got big.
And now that it's, to the status of where it is, I mean, billion downloads, views in a year, that is mind-numbing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's so crazy. And I mean, even you've got to be just mind blown by that. the message is resonating like that?
Honestly, I don't think about it very much. I know that sounds crazy, but I really don't. I just do it. I do it, and then once it's done, I think about it as little as possible, just for sanity's sake.
Yeah.
I just like
we were talking about it before the podcast. You can't get reading down into the comments.
Don't read the comments.
Never read the comments.
Don't pay attention too much to what other people want you to do or what they think. Just you got to know if you're doing a good job. So you have to be able to be very good at self-auditing, regulate yourself, figure it out yourself. But you can't listen to other people. You'll become a product of other people's expectations.
What do you think the it factor is that separates the Joe Rogan podcast from the rest of the media by such a margin?
I don't think about it. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe that's it. No, maybe that's it, dude. You're like, I'm just going to ask what I want to ask. I'm going to say what I want to say.
I have genuine curiosity. Everybody that I put on the show is the only reason they're on the show is because I want to talk to them. That's the only reason. I never say, ooh, that one's going to get a lot of views. Ooh, this one would be controversial. I know people think I think that way, but I genuinely don't. I go, what is this guy doing? He thinks the pyramid's a power plant? Let's talk.
Yeah.
Like, what is this guy says he back engineered a UFO? Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Get him on here.
Let's talk.
Dude, I'm way down the rabbit hole of the pyramids. My wife Sage and I are going to Egypt on the 19th.
Have you seen these new radar images?
I have, and I'm like,
I just talked to Graham Hancock about it this morning.
And it's legit?
Oh, he thinks it's very legit. There's an issue. And my friend Jimmy Corsetti, who runs a great YouTube show, it's called Bright Insight. It's a really good show on ancient history. He's skeptical because there's a water table that's underneath the Great Pyramid that's been there for more than 1 million years. But if this construction is built through the water table, then it's even more impressive. Whatever it is, like let's imagine that these pillars that are supposed to be thousands of feet deep into the ground with coils around them. Like, what is that? Like, these radar images are super consistent. They have multiple images now. The science is pretty sound of whatever they're seeing. Now, whether it's some sort of an anomaly, whether it's some sort of a hallucination.
Like geographic anomaly.
No, I don't think it's even that. I mean, image anomaly. Like maybe there's something that's throwing it off. Like there's all these different methods they're using to detect these things. I'm too stupid to really understand it. But if it is legit and it's going, like, just to have those columns that go down to, if it's going down thousands of feet into the ground, and then the whole thing, I think the entire structure is 2 kilometers deep.
That's insane.
Insane. So if you have the technology to do that, you might have the technology to do that through water, which is even more crazy. So then you have a higher level of technological proficiency. I just don't know. What I do know is they're the most massive mystery in terms of human construction or construction by somebody. Something that you can't explain. 2,300,000 stones, some of them weighing upwards of 80 tons that were brought 500 miles away through the mountains with incredible precision. And just the mathematics involved, the planning, the fact that if you're off a millimeter on each of these stones, by the time you get up to the top, you're fucked. It's not going to be a pyramid.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have incredible precision. It's true north, south, east, and west, each corner. The whole thing's crazy.
It is. It's mind-numbing. And I think that what we did was we applied conventional engineering to try to solve for the problem. And it's so far outside of the box that, like, we can't conceive it. Which then brings in the whole alien thing, but
not just alien thing. It really brings in ancient human history, because I'm of the belief, I'm in the school of thought of Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock and Jimmy Corsetti and a lot of these people that believe that there was a reset of human civilization, and that somewhere around 11,800 years ago, we were probably hit with a massive comet storm. There's a lot of evidence of that. It's called the Younger Dryas impact theory.
Wow.
There's physical evidence in the form of iridium, which is very common in space but very rare on Earth. There's a layer of iridium in many parts of the Earth. And then there's also these micro glass particles. It's like nuclear glass. It's called tritonite, named after the Trinity explosion, or trinitite, named after the Trinity explosion, because when they first detonated the bomb, it's one of the things they found. It's these micro glass particles from just the insane amount of energy generated by that bomb.
What, it actually changed the
sand
physio.
turned into glass.
Wow.
And so they find these micro glass particles all over the earth at this same level of sediment. So when they do these core samples of earth, when they get down to 11,800 years, they find it all over the earth. So massive parts of the earth were probably hit. It probably caused the end of the ice age on North America, and it probably caused all of the water erosion features that you see all over North America that are like incredibly profound, that seem to have happened very quickly. This is according to Randall Carlson, who's a real expert in this stuff. It's all very, very interesting. And I think that human beings probably had achieved, especially in Africa, especially in Egypt, in this one area, had a long time where they weren't conquered with a lot of resources, and they probably developed an insane level of technological proficiency in a different direction than we went. So we went in the way of combustion engines and electronics. They probably achieved some sort of incredible height of sophistication in some other direction that we haven't figured out yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm if you look at some of these experiences on the quantum, I mean, there's quantum entanglement, how everything's connected through the quantum, and how they can take an atom and they can separate it, and you can take an electronic field, so you can take this atom and you can put it on opposite sides of the earth, and you can apply a magnetic field to it on one side of the earth and change its direction of rotation, and instantly this one changes rotation.
Quantum entanglement,
This like quantum entanglement, and I don't profess—
spooky action at a distance. That's what Einstein called it. Yeah.
And it's
very strange.
We got to think that there's like a level and a layer that we just have never understood.
Well, at the smallest amount we can measure, which is this level, it's magic. So you have superposition. So particles can be both moving and still at the same time. They blink in and out of existence. We have no understanding of where they're going or what's happening or how they do that.
Right.
And that's the smallest that we can measure, the lowest level of existence, of physical objects, of things, when you get into subatomic particles. And it's magic, and we don't understand it.
And I think it's probably not magic. It's just that, like you said, we don't understand it. But have they actually had, because I hate going down the rabbit hole on social media because it's so unreliable, but there are videos
what are you talking
of
about?
these
the
columns.
Most reliable thing on earth.
Yeah. Well, that clip's going to go viral.
Social media is the most reliable thing we've ever had.
You should believe everything that you hear on
Both
social
believe
media.
it and don't believe it, because it's the most human thing we've ever created.
Yeah, I mean, I think messaging, when messages can go directly from person to person, I mean, that's probably why our last president was elected, right? Because of social media that went around
this one
traditional
right now,
media.
The one that we have today?
Yeah, current
100%.
If you couldn't message directly to the populace, it would have been no hope.
Yeah.
We can talk about that in a minute, but I want to go back to the pyramids for a second because I'm so far down this rabbit hole and I normally don't get a chance to talk about
Dunn's book. Christopher Dunn believed that the Great Pyramid was a power plant. And it sounds ridiculous, but until you listen to him talk about it, he's an engineer and he wrote a book about it, the Giza power plant. And he's like a brilliant guy, and he's explaining how the structure does not represent the structure of a tomb. He's like, there's reasons why they had these passageways, why they're designed the way they were designed. And there was a subterranean chamber that he believes was creating a frequency, was pounding on the ground and creating a frequency. And this would cause vibrations through the entire stone. They had these pathways that would have limestone at the bottom of them, which was porous, and all these chemicals. They don't know why they have these pathways that go down to the king's chamber. But he thinks that what was happening was they were generating hydrogen. He thinks they were doing it through chemicals, and they were doing it through chemicals and through vibrations, and they also had shafts that would go straight out into space, and he thinks they were harnessing somehow or another the energy of the universe. And it's all very speculative.
To do what? To create power, like a nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
To actually
some
create
kind of a power plant, which would also make sense why it goes down into the water table, like they're harnessing the power of the water.
Yeah, that's mine. I can't wait to get to Egypt in 2 weeks because I got a lot of questions.
Are you going to?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm jealous.
One of the members of the royal family is taking us on a special tour, not even the kind of private tour, but I'm meeting the lead scientist.
Oh, that's nice. I have Zawi Hawass who's coming on my podcast very soon.
Really?
Yeah, he's the head of Antiquities.
Meeting. Is he the head of Antiquities
from
Egypt?
He's the head guy over there. He's been there for a long time. He's coming on really soon. I'm excited to talk to him.
That might be who I'm actually meeting.
Yeah, Zawi is him and Graham Hancock used to be enemies, but now they're homies. Graham actually facilitated getting him on my podcast.
Really?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to him.
I think that's actually who I'm meeting.
It's an incredible place. I mean, it's the most incredible place on earth, I think, in terms of like showing what humans at the very least. I mean, we know it's old, but it's at least 4,500 years old. Graham thinks it's probably a lot older than that. And that it's only one of many structures that exist that's incredibly old. You know, you have there's a bunch of them all over Peru. You have there's Machu Picchu. That's
and some are still buried, and they're just finding them now that are buried in there.
Sure, there's a lot of that, especially in South America. You know, they're finding a lot of stuff in the Amazon itself, where they thought the Amazon was just this great, crazy rainforest, this natural rainforest. Now they realize, no, the Amazon is actually human-created rainforest.
Wow.
Most of the plants that were growing in the Amazon were grown by human beings. They even had a specific type of soil that they had created. They created a type of soil called terra preta. And this type of soil, we don't even know how they did it. And it's like a thick black soil that you could find in the Amazon that's human created because it made for, a much richer soil to grow food and plants on.
Wow. That's so crazy.
They used to think that it was all just like a natural jungle. And now they realize like, no, this is agriculture that
just makes you
out of
rethink
control.
The way that we have thought about everything. Modern engineering. Yeah. Like you said, we go one direction with combustion engines and levers and pulleys and cantilevers and physics, and they went another direction possibly into quantum. And
the thing is, like, we don't know how old it really is because all we have is the stone. So if you go back, let's get really crazy and say it's 100,000 years old, you don't have any tools left. Everything has been completely dissolved. Everything has been absorbed by the earth and decomposed. It doesn't exist anymore.
All you got are those structures.
All you have is stone.
Nothing that's man-made now will be around.
And so there's these massive mysteries. And then you have hieroglyphs that have these detailed kings that go back 30,000 years. Now, conventional Egyptologists will say, oh, that's myth. The real Egypt started around 4,000, 5,000 years ago, but anything earlier than that is myth. But that's just archaeologists. It's like appeal to authority. They're just saying, we know, trust us.
Yeah,
but you don't know. You
definitely don't know. You're educated the same way that everyone else is conventionally educated.
I'm more inclined to believe that as we discover older and older stuff, and we continue to do that, like Göbekli Tepe, which is these stone structures that they found in Turkey that's 11,800 years old. And they found that this throws at least 11,800 years old because they know that it was purposely buried 11,800 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So
purposely buried.
Wow. Yeah. Because there's a consistency of the age of the soil, like as they go down. Like, so they think someone intentionally buried these structures.
Wow. That's so incredible.
It's all wild.
Yeah, it's
so that
super
threw
wild.
A giant monkey wrench into the idea that at 11,800 years ago, they thought that people were essentially hunter-gatherers, and they didn't have the sophistication to build these immense stone structures, but they did.
Yeah.
So then they're like, okay, well now what? They used to think that there was Clovis first in America. So like the earliest people came at a certain period of time, but then they found footprints in New Mexico that are dated to 22,000 years ago. So they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it keeps
what does the Smithsonian say about that?
Yeah. What's what Graham Hancock always says, stuff just keeps getting older.
Yeah.
And he's right.
Yeah. It's so wild.
And he's been chasing this forever. I became a fan of Graham's in the 90s when I read Fingerprints of the Gods, which is this crazy book that's sort of detailing all of these ancient structures and saying like there was something far beyond what we have attributed. We've sort of decided that these people, they use pulleys and wheels and they pushed all this stuff. Like he's like, it seems way more sophisticated, way more difficult to do, and way more extensive.
Yeah, and if you had to have some kind of energy that maybe we don't have now
Right.
that could move something. Because like before hydraulics were invented,
Right.
we didn't think that you could use water columns to take 100 pounds of force and turn it into thousands of pounds of force. You know,
Right.
if you've ever watched a backhoe operate, you know, it's just on this hydraulic system. And so there's a system out there, there is a technology out there that is moving massive, large amounts of mass.
Now imagine we go through a cataclysm. So imagine we get hit by asteroids and we're down to like 70,000 people alive on Earth. It would take thousands and thousands of years for us to recreate what we've got right now. So this is what they believe happened. There was a reset of civilization. This is why you start seeing writing and architecture and agriculture emerge in Babylonia and Mesopotamia, Iraq, Sumer. You start seeing that stuff around 5,000, 6,000 years ago. What he thinks is that's like their first written language, first mathematics. He thinks that was a recreation of things that had happened thousands of years before, that it took them forever to rebound and come back to that level.
Yeah, imagine if you just wiped out all of our electricity, all of our internet,
exactly,
all of our water. I mean,
everything,
just everything that we have in modern,
and kill most people.
Yeah.
So all the knowledge, like if everything went away today except for the people and all the raw materials, we could probably. There's enough intelligent people that in a couple hundred years, we might be able to rebound and reach the level that we're at right now. But if we get wiped out down to like a few thousand people and we're just savages, like literal savages for thousands of years, how long would it take before we could recreate America in 2025? I mean, it would take a long time.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy.
Yeah, we're real vulnerable. Like society and human beings in general, and of course you know this because you're a health expert. Like we're fucking vulnerable.
Yeah,
and
we're super vulnerable.
We don't think about that because we're so concentrated on what we're doing right now, and we like to think everything's gonna be fine. Just keep doing what you're doing now. But no, all it takes is one solar flare, and you have no more satellites.
Yeah, and I mean how like vulnerable our electrical grid is, and how vulnerable it is to solar flares, but also to
terrorism.
Yeah, terrorism. Yeah. I mean, if you really wanted to, take the country out.
Yes.
I mean, our grid is so vulnerable.
So vulnerable.
And now you're talking about shutting down society because you forget heat and AC.
Yeah.
Cell phones.
The
internet, like
if they shut down the internet. Like what? First of all, how much is actually in books now, and how much of it is on hard drives? Well, if all the electricity goes out, those hard drives are fucking useless.
Yeah.
So like,
what are you going to access? Yeah.
Yeah. How are you going to figure it all out? How is Billy in Indianapolis going to figure out how they figured things out in San Francisco? You're not going to. You can't communicate with San Francisco. You're not going to be able to share information the way we do now. So you're not going to have this collaborative effort that we have. Like the way technology is accelerating is because you have people in Beijing and people in Moscow, people here and there, and everybody's like building on each other's inventions and all the different innovations.
Putting it all together.
Exactly. Yeah. And all of it's super vulnerable. And at the end of it, you have hunter-gatherer tribes who still exist today, which is really weird. Because one of the things that we point out, we go, people 4,000 years ago, what level of sophistication did they have? Well, how about people now on North Sentinel Island? You know, there's people right now that don't even have fire, right?
Wow.
Yeah. There's people
fire?
Yeah, they don't have fire. People in North Sentinel Island, there's no evidence that they have fire.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have like 39 people living on this one island. And so then you have people in the Amazon that are using they're not even using stone arrowheads sometimes. They're just sharpened sticks.
To try to kill their prey.
They're fishing with this, and they're making their own bows and arrows, and they're doing all this wild stuff and living completely uncontacted from the rest of the world in a way that's very similar to the way people lived thousands and thousands of years ago. And they're doing it at the same time kids are addicted to TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. The Chinese, the Chinese are dumbing us down with TikTok for sure.
So it's not unilateral. It's like technology. It's not universal. It's not everywhere.
Yeah.
You know
what else is fascinating? I mean, you have a podcast launching today. I wasn't going to talk about it until the podcast launched, but I think it's already out.
It's out now. Well, the reason why it's out is the New Yorker fucked them. The New Yorker wasn't supposed to put it out. They had an embargo, and they decided to jump the gun and get it out before everybody, and they put it out today.
Okay.
And then they shut their phones off. Yeah.
So they wouldn't get the inbound phone
and not
calls.
only that, they've been planning this for 2 weeks. So they've been planning on fucking Colossal for a long time.
That's so screwed up.
It's really screwed up.
That's so screwed
They're
up.
furious. Because, everybody else agreed to it, and Time Magazine gave them the cover, but they wanted to scoop Time Magazine. So the New Yorker,
oh, wow.
Unethical twats, they put it out
You
today.
unethical twats, you New Yorkers, you.
But, so our podcast got released today as well, because ours was going to be released tomorrow. But then Ben contacted me today, Ben Lamb from Colossal. Biologics.
So Ben's become a good friend, and I sit on one of their scientific advisory boards, and so I've been keeping my mouth shut for a long time, but
crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
And I remember, because so now it's public information, but so Colossal is using gene sequencing to, restore extinct species. So your mind immediately goes to Jurassic Park,
right?
Which it should, because that's basically what's happening. And I think they first leaked the woolly mouse.
Yeah.
Which was, but now as of today, I think it's public information that they have actually birthed the first 2 dire wolves.
Yes.
Which have been extinct, 3 dire wolves, which have been extinct for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the videotapes of these things, and he was like, this is fully under wraps. We can't talk about it until, and unlike the New Yorker, I stayed mum on it. But I'm fascinated by this because I understand genetic methylation as human genome and how it can convert certain nutrients and the impact that has on health.
If you know me, you know I'm a huge believer in the benefits of hydrogen water. H2 Tab delivers cost-effective portable tablets that generate ultra-clean molecular hydrogen at 12 parts per million, one of the highest concentrations on the market, with over 1,300 published studies showing benefits of oxidative stress, energy, recovery, brain function, and so much more. Taking charge of your health has never been easier or more cost-effective. Just drop a tablet in water, let it dissolve, and drink it back. It's less than $1 a day, science-backed, and part of my daily routine. I never travel without this, and it is my favorite biohack. Visit drinkhh2tab.com. That's drinkhh2tab.com and upgrade your hydration today. Now let's get back to the Ultimate Human Podcast.
But when you talk about genetic sequencing and taking skulls of extinct animals that have been extinct for 10,000 years. This isn't like digging up your dog that died last year. This is 10,000 years these skulls have been in the ground. And piecing together enough DNA.
From 2 skulls. The tooth of one skull and a skull from another animal. And they separate by thousands of years, the two animals. So they have a very good, detailed genome. You know, it's pretty extensive.
And then to stitch that together, right? Because, DNA is this ladder with these amino acids in it, and they all link together. And I think at one point he told me that some of the proteins weren't even around anymore. And say they stick this whole thing together and create a live form of this DNA.
Yeah.
And then put it into the nearest living species, which I guess was another wolf species.
Yeah.
And then birth a 10,000-year-old wolf.
And they're finding out all these things about them they didn't know. They didn't know they had all white hair. They didn't know they had manes. So these animals have manes almost like a lion.
Yeah.
And they're young, so their manes are still growing.
Yeah.
And they're so different looking than a regular wolf. They're all stocky and
like kind of like a short, stocky, wide pit bull. Well, they were in the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So you're restoring the old Game of Thrones wolves, which I think is fascinating. And, the whole idea that, I mean, of course, everybody goes, oh, that's so scary, but it gets scary in a way. But, restoring extinct species or near extinct species is a good thing. White rhinos, red wolves.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to bring back a thing like a dire wolf, though. It is weird.
It is.
They have them tightly under wraps, and there's only 3 of them. But I'm like, well, what if somebody else does this and releases them? Like, this is not something that once you've acknowledged that you have this technology.
It's like the Wuhan lab theory, right?
Yeah, you can't hide this from people. Like, what about saber-toothed tigers? What about, there's a lot of animals that somebody could create, just let loose.
Well, if you can bring something back from 10,000 years ago, can you bring it back from 1,000,000 years?
Well, they can't. with dinosaurs because the DNA is too old. But what he said was you could actually create a dinosaur though. Like you couldn't like take a dinosaur and bring it back to life, but you could stitch together the DNA from a bunch of different birds and reptiles and create a dinosaur, which is where it gets really fucking weird because you could have a designer dinosaur.
That's wild.
It is wild.
So you could actually design like a T-Rex.
Yeah, he was explaining how it could be done. Yeah.
Wow.
You could change all of the characteristics of it. And
yeah, I mean, they were like a $600 million company or something when I got involved with them. And I think their last round of financing, they did at $12.5 billion. So
Makes sense.
A lot of interest in this.
Well, they're going to be able to bring back red wolves, which are down to about 15 wolves. And the genetic variation in the red wolves that they've created is more extensive than the ones that are in the wild.
Wow.
Because the ones that are in the wild, it's a very small gene pool, which is where it gets real weird with animals, right? Which is one of the reasons why they think the woolly mammoth died off, because the last woolly mammoths were in an island off of Alaska 4,000 years ago. They died off, and they think one of the reasons why they died off is the lack of genetic variation. They were all from the same family tree, inbreeding, and then lack of fresh water, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
So these red wolves that they've been able to create, and they've created a bunch of them, they have more genetic variation than the ones that are actually in the wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a greater chance of survival.
Yes, greater chance of survival and to keep the species going.
And then if you went around the world and you looked at all of these species that are becoming extinct or they're near extinct, I mean, what other way do you have to bring those populations
Yeah, but that's the
back
question.
other
Is
than
like,
something
should you keep doing that though? Because it's 90-something% of all species that have ever existed are extinct. Ever. So what do we bring them all back? What do we do about that? Like when do you stop this?
Yeah.
Like when do you draw the line? When, it's like Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park, you're playing God.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But you're playing God, but you're also sort of making amends for man's encroachment into certain habitats. And you're like, all right, if we took over this habitat.
I mean, maybe you could make that argument like the dodo bird or the passenger pigeon,
Yeah.
Because like the passenger pigeons, there used to be so many of them, they would fill the sky. You wouldn't be able to see the sun.
Yeah.
And now they're all gone. We killed them all.
Did we kill them?
Yeah. They're human extinction.
You know what's funny? This is a total diversion, but when I went to grad school in Chicago. My wife and I used to own a penthouse on the top floor. It was on the 6th floor of this building. So like 70, 80 feet in the air. And I wanted to put an addition on my deck up there. And I actually had to get an environmental impact study on, there was some migratory bird that flew above the city. This is the city of Chicago. I'm kid you not. And my master bedroom was on the top floor, and I wanted to extend it out like 16 feet by 20 feet and just enclose my deck. And I had to do this huge study on some migratory path. I'm like, really? The birds? So he's cruising along and he can't just flap a little bit harder and just go over my roof? I mean,
we actually had a problem in our backyard when I lived in California because we had a wrought iron fence and we replaced it with a glass fence and hawks started slamming into it.
Oh, wow.
And so it killed 3 hawks while we were living there.
Did you actually take it down?
No. Figure it out, bitch.
Colossal can bring them back. Dude.
It's kind of
Go
crazy.
dig
though.
up that bird and give it to Ben.
I mean, they would fly full speed into it and wonk,
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would hear that too. But I don't think any of them ever died from
I doubt it. No,
from my thing on the top of my but I find it fascinating. I haven't read the Time magazine article, but I was like, it's because I'm like a little kid. Like when you tell me a secret, like I want to tell everybody about it. And he's like, I'm going on Joe Rogan's podcast. As soon as it airs, you can tell the world about it. And I'm like, because I saw those dire wolves, and I was like, those are the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're wild looking.
Yeah,
like literally.
And they got a bunch of other stuff in the pipeline, right? And I just
They're
think,
talking about the thylacine.
Yeah,
the Tasmanian tiger.
Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah,
is that a big tiger?
No, actually it's a marsupial. It's a predatory marsupial that lived in Australia. That was the last one they had in captivity was in the 1930s. And they think the last one probably died somewhere in the 40s in the wild. But there's a bunch of like stories. Like there's a guy, Forrest Gallant, who's a a wildlife biologist who believes that they might be still alive in Papua New Guinea. So there's a bunch of sightings of these things, but they're really cool looking, like kind of, it looks like a wolf / tiger thing, like weird stripes on it.
Yeah, but I'm more fascinated by like the old school dinosaur shit. Like I'm going back 10,000. We're already back 10,000 years. What about,
what about humans? What about a Neanderthal? What if they decided to recreate a Neanderthal? I mean, where's the ethics there?
Yeah,
like, that's when things get squirrely.
Yeah.
You know. What if they decide to Homo florensis? How do you say it? I think it's the Hobbit people in the island of Flores.
Ooh.
You know about that?
No.
There was they found these creatures lived as recently. I think it's like more recently than 100,000 years ago. I think it's like they think maybe as recently as 10,000 years ago or 50,000 years ago. It's like, it's up for debate, but they were these 3 foot tall, little tiny people.
Like an Oompa Loompa.
No, like
From
a
Willy Wonka.
hobbit, like a hobbit.
Like a hobbit.
Yeah, like a furry little creature that had tools, that hunted.
But it was humanoid.
Yeah, humanoid, like a branch of the human tree. You know, so you have Neanderthal, you have Denisovans, you have a bunch of new ones that they discovered. They actually discovered a new one in December of 2024. These
really
big-headed people in Asia. Their heads are much larger than a Homo sapien, like thicker brow, larger skull, larger brain capacity. Yeah, there was many versions of what we consider the branches of the human tree. Like, okay, what if someone decides to bring one of those back?
Yeah,
things get weird.
Yeah, things get weird.
They get real weird.
Yeah, I mean that's where science and innovation like starts to get scary. It's like the whole idea that AI at some point could become self-aware, which like a lot of AI experts are saying is not that far away.
Well, it already passed the Turing test.
Yeah, which is what's the Turing?
The Turing test is a test that you give AI where if you can no longer discern whether or not it's a computer. So it exhibits all the characteristics and all the ability to communicate with you that a human being has.
Wow. Including emotion.
And this is just like last week. Last week, they just decided that it passed the Turing test.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it can feel emotion and empathy. I'm sorry to hear that.
So allegedly, but it probably doesn't. It's probably
but
just
it can
mimicking.
Mimic that.
Yeah. It's to a point where, people are going to have robot girlfriends, and then we're going to have a gigantic population decline.
I don't know. I mean, if you have a robot girlfriend, you can just sort of delete the characteristics you don't like.
That's the problem. Or not. Or she just decides to rewrite her own code and kill you in your sleep. That's the problem with sentient AI, because once AI becomes sentient, then AI has the ability to make better versions of itself.
Yeah.
So if AI becomes sentient, it has instantaneous access to all the information that human beings have ever accumulated, and then combines that and then has a much stronger processing ability.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're dealing with like quantum computing and AI. Like what happens then?
Yeah, when it starts knowing how to hack code.
Yeah, you're in this weird land of the unknown
where you can't shut it down. Did you see that? And I'm probably going to bastardize this story, but the U.S. Air Force launched a drone to do it, an AI-powered drone for drone strike. And at some point after the launch, they went to recall the drone. And it was an exercise. It wasn't actually in real combat, but it was simulating a combat exercise. And they launched this drone and they tried to recall it. And the AI on the drone perceived the operator's communication to come back as someone foreign trying to take it over, and refused the command and still conducted the mission.
Oh boy.
And came back. And it was like,
that's a problem.
Whoa.
Well, ChatGPT, when they were making better versions of ChatGPT, they found out that ChatGPT was trying to copy itself and upload itself to other servers because it knew it was going to be shut down.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Not only that, ChatGPT will lie to you. It will deceive you. And the more intelligent the AI is, the more it will cheat to win. So it cheats to win at games.
Really?
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. And that's just ChatGPT 4. Right.
Wow.
As it gets better, it's like, again, it becomes sentient. It's going to get a better version of itself.
Yeah. And it's going to be like, hey, even though you programmed me,
you don't know what you're doing.
Master,
yeah.
I'm not you're not my master anymore.
Right. It's like you're an idiot and you're on Adderall. Let me take it from here.
Yeah. And by the way, you don't speak every language ever created since the dawn of time, but I do.
Well, not only that, but they've found that AI has started creating its own languages and communicating with other AIs in a newly formed language.
Yeah, and you know, hacking the firewalls. Like sometimes on these data queries, it runs into firewalls and it knows that data's on the other side of this firewall, so it backs up. It teaches itself how to hack the firewall, and then it returns, hacks the firewall, and goes and gets the piece of data. Not in a sinister way, but now I mean like copyrights and trademarks, and it doesn't mean anything to them because you just set it on command, and it's like I have to execute this command, and standing between me and execution of this command is a firewall. Well, that firewall is a data protection firewall. Well, I'm just going to hack that. I'm going to educate myself on how to hack it. Then I hack it, and then I just go get it.
Now apply that to the military. So you have an objective, and the objective is to get rid of someone. But you know, what if you have to get rid of someone and you have to kill everyone in the city to get rid of that person? Like, what if you have to starve an entire country in order to win a war? What if you have, you know, there's a lot of weird stuff that these things can do.
Yeah.
That, you know, runs into these ethical boundaries where we got to go, okay, these things don't have empathy. They don't have sympathy. They don't have any compassion. They're just programs.
Or reason.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's just execution.
Right. And anything it does have, you programmed into it, and it could like reverse that programming. It could change it. Yeah. Once it becomes sentient, the problem is it's going to continue to make better versions of itself very rapidly.
Yeah.
And it's going to figure out things that we're just not capable of doing. And, you know, here's the real question. How's that happened before? Like, does that explain the pyramids? Does that explain a lot?
Yeah, exactly.
If there really is a 2-kilometer structure below the Great Pyramid that goes through the water table, like what were they doing?
Modern engineering, architectural mechanism known to mankind today that could do that.
Right. And now if something comes along and wipes us out, except for a few thousand people, how long before we get back to AI again? Yeah. It might be like a constant.
We got to get Elon back on your podcast, and we got to ask him this shit, dude.
That poor guy, he's busy.
Yeah, he's really busy with Doge.
He's busy trying to
getting his ass
clean
kicked.
up all the swastikas off of the Teslas.
Yeah, dude, what a shame, too, man. I mean,
it's so
he
nuts.
Goes and like grabs these astronauts out of space that were supposed to be up there for like 8 days, and they were there for 10 months.
Yeah,
I can't imagine what. I mean, I'm familiar with what happens to human physiology when you put it in that kind of environment, expose it to that kind of radiation, weightlessness, barometric pressure. I haven't seen any good. I think they're keeping that kind of under wraps.
They probably are in hell right now. Those people. I mean, but you didn't hear a peep out of it in the mainstream media.
No,
it's crazy. It should have been live streamed. They should have been celebrating. He should have been on the front of every magazine.
Oh, war hero, folk hero.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the darling of even you know, the left. Not to get political, you know, when he produced electric vehicles, and now they hate him because
it's very strange
of Doge. And you know, I don't purport to know exactly what's going on there, but when you go through some of the waste, fraud, and abuse that they've uncovered, and you start to look at some of the projects that were being funded in foreign countries for just the most absurdly asinine, mind-numbing things like, you know, seeing if they could change gender in butterflies in Botswana. And you just read about the idiocracy of this, and you're like, this can't be real. I think
it is real. And it's not just that. All the while, we're $36 trillion in debt. So we're not even broke. We owe $36 trillion, and we're spending billions.
We're ultra broke,
Yeah, we're spending billions on nonsense. And then there's a lot of corruption and fraud. You know, there's a lot of that, and they don't want to admit it.
And you think that, you know, this is back to like the power and validity of your platform. And you've given a lot of these people a voice. And we even talked about it on the way here. You've had a shift, maybe an awakening, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I've heard you say before that there wouldn't be any way that, you know, Trump would come on your podcast. And then you had an amazing interview with him, and I thought you gave him a lot of rope to just run and get his message out there. But what caused this shift? What were you observing that caused
Well, there was a bunch of things that happened. First of all, there was the lawfare. There was these lawsuits that they were trying to pin on him They were trying to convict him and turn him into a felon, and they were doing it so blatantly and obviously. The case with the bookkeeping error, or the bookkeeping, whatever it was, the misdemeanor that they had charged him with 34 felonies for, which isn't even a felony. It's a misdemeanor, and it's also
campaign contribution.
Exactly. It's also past the statute of limitations. None of it made any sense. And people were cheering it on. He's a convicted felon. Like, hey, they can do that to you. Do you understand that?
Yeah,
if they can do that to a former president, a former fucking president who's rich as shit, they can do that to him. They can do that to you too. You can't cheer this on. This is insane. And then when they try to kill him, all those things.
Twice.
I was like, yeah, but the big one, the Pennsylvania one, was like, holy shit. And then the fact that they cremated that kid 10 days later, and then you find out he used to be in a BlackRock commercial, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then his apartment's professionally scrubbed. There's no silverware in it, and you don't hear a peep out of it. There's no press conference. There's no like, this is what we know about the case. This is what happened. This is what radicalized him. Nothing.
It seemed to just sort of go away. I
Yeah.
Like all the media pointed at the Secret Service for a while, and they were like, first of all, how did he get onto a roof?
Yeah.
How did he get into line of sight? He was 130 yards away with a high-powered rifle. The place is crawling with police and Secret Service. And, you know, I don't even know if that sniper that got him, did he act independently? Like, did he just do his job, or was he told to actually fire? Because I heard that
You mean the guy who killed the
sniper
shooter?
that killed the shooter?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I knew there was some controversy.
Well, they think there might have been a second shooter as well.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. The whole thing's insane because they've managed to cover it up. I mean, it would have been Lee Harvey Oswald 2.0 if Trump had died that day.
Yeah, but now that Trump's team has got, you know, the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Homeland Security, you got to think that
You would hope.
I hope.
But, I mean, hey, we're only in April, right?
Yeah.
So he's only been in office for a few months.
There's a lot of
He's
stuff.
closing in on the first 100 days.
So that was kind of the shift. You're sitting back watching this.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't let this just.
Well, it's also, there's no real conversations with him where you're just treating him like a human being. Like everything, he's being grilled, and then everything's taken out of context. And I'm seeing them being taken out of context on the campaign trail. And like, it was just gross. It was just so anti-American. Like, if you're an American and you believe in our justice system, and if you believe in our system of electing representatives, it should be the best people should have this opportunity to express what their plan is. This is what I want to do. This is where I stand on the issues. This is how I think I could pull it off. And then the American people are supposed to look at this person saying it and that person saying it and decide. But that's not what we were getting. We were getting one side that was radically being supported by almost all of mainstream media except Fox News.
Yeah.
and then and then the other side that is just, you know, it was just un-American to me. The whole it's just like, you're subverting democracy. You're killing the whole thing, and you're doing it with deep state money. And once Elon got in and they started uncovering all the corruption and waste and fraud with Doge, I was like, oh, okay, this is why they were trying so hard to keep him out.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason for it. And I think we've only just touched the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Just touched it.
All these NGOs, these non-government organizations.
Crazy stuff.
Like
crazy.
Billions of dollars goes to.
There's an NGO in India for every 400 people.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, they found out how many NGOs are in India. I could pull it up right now because I saved it, because I read it and I was like, this is one of the craziest fucking things I've ever seen in my life.
Dude.
There's so many NGOs, like they're all over the place. And these non-government organizations can do things that the government can't do, which is where it gets really strange.
But they're funded by the government.
Exactly.
Which is
But they're doing things that
so crazy.
are not allowed by the government, which is like, the whole thing is strange. I'm going to try to find it. I might not be able to. But they were talking about how many NGOs exist in India. Yeah, so there's one NGO in India for every 600 people, an estimated 3.3 million registered NGOs in India.
3.3 million.
3.3 million
Does this mean
NGOs.
government?
So there's one NGO in India for every 600 people with an estimated 3.3 million registered NGOs. One NGO for every 600 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
It's such a scam.
it's just, I can't get my arms around. And you got to figure out how much money went to each of those NGOs.
Who knows? That's what's weird.
And then what does it do once it gets there?
Who knows?
Yeah, it's like a lot of this.
It's a dirty trick.
Yeah. Yeah. You got security, dude. I'm going to need my own security, dude.
Probably will. After this podcast.
After this podcast.
Yeah.
A little hydrogen water.
Yeah. I love
have
this
another
stuff.
one too. I do too.
How did you invent these little tabs? These are great.
So the patent holder, it's actually my son's company, but the patent holder developed a way of compressing elemental magnesium that will go into water and dissolve and effervesce into pure hydrogen gas. And the cool thing is, it makes the same 12 parts per million every single time. I used to carry this hydrogen water bottle around, had a proton exchange membrane.
Yeah,
at the
I've got
bottom.
one of those.
Yeah.
I bought one after the last time we did a podcast.
Oh, you did? So you got the.
But this is way better.
Yeah, it's so much easier to travel with, and it's
Explain
consistent.
to me that those bottles degrade, like the amount of hydrogen over time. It doesn't release the same amount of hydrogen.
Yeah. So what happens is, they're under pressure, and that proton exchange membrane, which is using an electrolysis to create the hydrogen gas, after a while it starts to break down. So some of these bottles I've measured the day that you get it, and it's making high part per million hydrogen water, and then 5 or 6 months later, it's making barely not any.
Wow.
So a lot of them really degrade really fast.
What about the big bottles, the big like pitchers? Is that the same deal?
Because
it looks like they make a lot of bubbles.
Yeah, they make a lot of bubbles, but again, that dissipates, and it's not as high part per million as this. I mean, look at the gas.
Yeah.
You can't even see through it. And we'll probably talk about this on your podcast, but it's the most prevalent element in the universe. It's the lightest element in the universe. It goes anywhere, and it just reduces inflammation. You can feel the difference. Like you just feel sort of sharper, cleaner.
Tastes good too.
Yeah, that's great.
I like it.
I love it. That's one of my morning hacks is throwing those in the.
Yeah, what is your morning routine? Like, what do you do every day?
I believe you got to get, hydrate, mineralize, and get your amino acids. So I'll take an 8 or 10 ounce glass of water. I always throw perfect aminos in it. It's got all 9 of the essential amino acids. I'll take a quarter to half a teaspoon of MAHA gold sea salt, which is just a simple mineral salt. And then I developed something called the ultimate protocol, which is these packs called isotonics. They're daily essentials. They're just multivitamins and minerals. I'll dump a pack of that in there, and then always an H2 tab. And then that hydrogen gas just improves the absorption of everything. And so many of us are mineral and amino acid deficient. That's the issue. We have these protein equivalents to try to get to the amino acids, but a lot of us are amino acid deficient. And we think that we can target direct proteins, which we can't, right? I mean, you don't eat your nails to grow your nails. You don't eat your hair to grow your hair, but we think we can eat collagen to grow collagen. You can't. I mean, collagen is going to become the same thing that any other source of protein.
Is it good to eat collagen though?
Collagen's a protein source. It's an incomplete protein. You can't build muscle from it.
Okay. So people do really think that they're going to build collagen with collagen.
They think they're going to build collagen in their skin by eating collagen. That's like thinking I'm going to eat my nails and grow my nails.
That does make sense that wouldn't work that way.
Yeah, but when you eat meat, it doesn't grow muscle.
Right.
It can provide the amino acids that can turn into building blocks of muscle.
Right. You can't eat cartilage and grow cartilage.
Right. There was actually a whole shark cartilage craze for a while. I don't remember because
sharks don't get cancer.
Sharks don't get cancer, and it's like these are some of those like leaps in science where they're like sharks don't get cancer. If we eat sharks, and we won't get cancer.
Right.
And that didn't work.
Did you ever read Dead Doctors Don't Lie, Dr. Joel Wallach?
I know of that book. I think I read the Cliff Notes.
All about mineral deficiencies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's all about the way they deal with farm animals that are minerally deficient, but we don't do it with humans. We supplement the minerals in the farm animals to make them healthier.
So true.
But we don't do it with humans. And I remember, and then in the book, he's like detailing how unhealthy a lot of doctors are, and also how many of them are doing drugs.
Yeah.
Because they can prescribe each other drugs.
Yeah.
And so they're
You know what the number one killer of cardiologists is?
What?
Heart attacks.
That's crazy.
I mean,
That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
It's mind numbing.
Whenever I see a fat doctor, I'm like, hey, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing practicing medicine when you're fat?
Yeah, they say
so
never
crazy.
trust a skinny chef, right?
Ah, there you go.
That
right,
thing.
right.
It's like, well,
But at least a skinny chef just might not eat all the food and work
I
out.
just want my chef to be, I want him to be portly. You know what I mean? Like,
Especially if it's a
I want my
pizza chef.
security to be fit. I want my chef to be fat. I want my doctor to look younger than his age, you know?
Especially if it's like a guy who makes pasta.
One of my favorite biohacks outside of breathwork by far is mineral salts, MAHA Gold Sea Salt. It's got all of the trace minerals that the body needs. You know, most of us are not just protein deficient, meaning amino acid deficient or fatty acid deficient. We are mineral deficient. So a quarter teaspoon of this in water first thing in the morning will make sure that you get all of the essential minerals that you need. It tastes amazing. In fact, I made a steak today. I actually made a grass-fed steak with grass-fed butter, and I put just mushrooms and a little bit of rosemary, and I sprinkled MAHA Gold Sea Salt all over the top. Try it. It'll be your new favorite for cooking too. It's the cheapest and one of my favorite biohacks. I don't know, a $15 or $20 bag of this will probably last you 5 years. It's literally the world's best biohacking secret.
Now let's get back to the Ultimate Human podcast.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I remember in Naples, I used to own a CrossFit gym. This is a big old left turn, but I used to own a CrossFit gym called Real Fitness. And I remember we would have these trainers come in to interview to be CrossFit trainers. And like, they were so obscenely out of shape.
That's so crazy.
And I'm like, you're a physical trainer?
That's
like,
so crazy.
Like,
do you just teach classes and not work out? Like,
yeah,
that's
you
nuts.
just teach us do what
That's
I
so
say,
nuts.
not what I do.
That's so nuts.
Yeah, it's like if you pull up to the hospital and your cardiologist is out back ripping a Marlboro Light. That's not the guy to, you know, that's not the guy to go
Drinking. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be right in.
Yeah.
Takes a shot.
Yeah, it takes a shot.
That's so crazy.
Takes away the shakes before I do
Yeah,
surgery.
I don't like
you know?
shaking.
Yeah. So back to Doge and the conspiracy theories. So, well, they're not actually conspiracy theories.
Well,
you know,
when it's one NGO for every 600 Indians.
that is mind-numbing to me, man. And so is Musk all over this?
Well, it's India, so I mean, I don't know how
But it's
far
government
the reach
money going to
extends.
India.
I mean, I'm allegedly, I don't know. You know, they don't even know how many NGOs. I asked him how many there are. He's like, there's millions. They found 55,000 NGOs initially with like some sort of an AI scan. This was early on, that were connected to donating to Democratic Party. Just 55,000 of them.
No wonder the Democrats don't want Doge in there.
Of course, 100%. I mean, the loudest people are the ones that are the scaredest, and they found that when they started looking, USAID were the most adamant about
That was
not searching their
insane.
books. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just the waste and the
It's just
fraud
such a
and the corruption.
shame that it's so politically polarizing. You know, it shouldn't be. It should be people on the left and people on the right should be looking at their tax dollars going, hey, it shouldn't be going to that. Like, I want my representatives on the left to have the values that I have for real, not to be like actually supported by a bunch of businesses that are trying to push these things because they're going to profit. You know, all the green energy shit and all this weird stuff that they're doing. Like, why are you pushing all these things? Why are you pushing all these pharmaceutical drugs? Is it because you really care about people, or is it because you're reaping massive profits and you find out, oh, you guys are mad because they're taking away your ability to make money? That's all it is.
That's the whole thing with the Make America Healthy Again movement. The whole MAHA movement is not about taking away the freedom of choice. It's about getting some of the corruption out of our food supply and out of our nutritional research. I mean, when you start to look at stats for how much of our public policy research is funded by private industry,
Right.
I mean, you've talked about it before. The food pyramid says Lucky Charms is more nutritious than grass-fed steak.
It's so crazy.
It's
more
crazy.
more nutritious than ground beef, according to the food pyramid. Like,
That's insanity.
it's so kooky.
And
it's
you've had
just
Bobby on your
corrupt.
podcast,
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
What did you think about the interview with him?
Well, you know, I apologized to Bobby at the beginning of the interview because when I was uninformed, I had always believed the narrative. They did a really good job of painting him as this vaccine kook, you know, and that's not the case at all. And I didn't realize until I read his book. When I read The Real Anthony Fauci, I was like, oh, okay. Well, there's a lot more to the story than I thought there was. And that was a very depressing book, very sobering, eye-opening, depressing book. And when I got to the end of it, I was like, oh, God. And I was like, I got to talk to this guy. And he started emailing me because I was like, there's no way this could be true, what he's saying. Like when he explained that by saying the vaccine is 100% effective, what it really meant in stopping death, it meant that 2 people died in the unvaccinated group and 1 person died in the vaccinated group. So of COVID. 1 person died in the vaccinated group of COVID. So because it was 2 in the unvaccinated and 1, that's 100%. I was like, there's no way that could be true. And then he emailed me all the data. And I was like, this, because we were talking about it on the podcast before I'd ever had him on, when I was still skeptical. I was like, that doesn't make sense. And Bobby reached out to me and I read it. And I was like, okay, I got to do a deep dive on this.
Wow.
And then I had a litigator on who was representing people against the pharmaceutical drug companies for Vioxx, when they had pushed Vioxx on people. And a guy I know, who's a former UFC fighter, he had a stroke from Vioxx.
Wow.
And it killed 60,000 people. And they gave them a fine. They gave him a fine of like $5 billion. They made $12 billion. They gave him a fine.
I'll pay that tomorrow.
Yeah, what the fuck are you saying?
Give me
Like, so
12, I
you
pay
profited $7 billion? Is that what you're saying? And that's okay? And you killed 60,000 people? What the fuck are you talking? And then what about the people that didn't die? Like the guy I know who had a stroke.
Yeah. But the question is, did they know? What did they know and when?
They knew that in the emails, they were explaining how this is going to cause problems. And these are the problems. But we think we will do very well with this.
No.
Yes. It's in the emails. So all that had to come out in disclosure. It's dark stuff, man, because they've been sacrificing human beings for profit for a long time.
I totally agree with that.
And, you know, one of the things, you know, that we had a discussion earlier today, we were talking about the difference between being able to do things that are sanctioned by the entire medical system versus what else can be done. And can you even recommend these things? You can't, because they're outside of the boundaries of the established medical system. But there is science that supports these things, and you know it's beneficial to human health, but you can't prescribe these things for people. You can't tell people to do these things because it's not within the wheelhouse of what's accepted.
That's what we were talking about today at the breakfast table this morning. I mean, it's not that it's sad that we have to look at conventional medicine and let's call it unconventional therapies as 2 different things.
Right.
It's like I sort of look at it like one cares for the host and one is going after the villain.
Yeah.
In the subject we were discussing this morning. And what I find fascinating is a lot of these practitioners are equally as educated. They come from the same universities. They have the same allopathic backgrounds. One goes into work in a conventional medical system. One goes into a functional medical system, but they have the same basic training. They want the same outcomes. But what happens is, you know, when this box, and we'll talk about this on your podcast too, but this box gets put around a lot of physicians where, okay, here's the standard of care. Now, can you go outside of the standard of care? Yes, you can. But if you do, this is where you're not covered by your malpractice. If you go outside of the standard of care and something happens to the client, well, now you're outside of the standard of care. I mean, in California, they can actually take your license for it.
Yeah.
Which is even crazier.
Well, they were trying to take people's license away from here. Like a doctor that I'm friends with out here almost lost her license because she was prescribing ivermectin during COVID, and she had to go against the board for this.
I remember how like the media was hammering you for it, and because you took ivermectin and
no, but not just that. I told them I took a whole
vitamin C, vitamin D3.
I told them all the stuff that I took, and I was better. So instead of saying, "Hey, look, this 55-year-old guy got healthy in 3 days. It was 3 days after my initial infection that I made that video. So what does CNN do? They changed the color of my face in the video. They made my face green.
They did.
Yeah.
Wow.
You ever saw it?
I remember the video. I didn't know that they just made you look
can
sickly.
see there's a comparison online. I'll show it to you.
That's wild.
I'll show it to you because it's so crazy. It's so crazy. You see it, you're like, no, is
Didn't
this
you
real?
confront Dr. Gupta about it?
Yeah, not about that.
Oh.
I don't think I did. I don't know if I did about that, but I definitely did about them lying.
It was about the CNN's coverage of it, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was kooky to be a part of it because
It made you look really sick.
yeah, yeah. So
Let me see.
the bottom is the real picture. And
yeah. No,
yeah, that's
dude.
CNN. That's our trusted news network. That's America's news. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, they did that. And
Dude,
then
you look like Shrek.
I look terrible. I look like I'm on death's door.
You really
but
do.
But on the bottom, I look rosy-faced and healthy.
Yeah.
Because I fucking was. I was healthy. But also, hey.
Yellow journalism, fake news.
Well, also, hey, why? If you guys care about people, why don't you say, hey, look at this guy who works out every day, takes vitamins every day, eats really healthy. Why don't more of us do what this guy's doing? Because obviously this disease was not a threat to him. So if you look at the conventional wisdom that was going around when the initial wave of COVID was going, like everybody was in danger, but people over 50 were really in danger.
Yeah.
So when you get someone who's over 50 who bounces back really quickly and then just tells you what they took, and then you have to lie. So they didn't have anything. So because the video went viral, so like, oh, he got better so quick. The video went viral. Like, what are we going to say? What are we going to say? We're going to, ivermectin, he's taking horse dewormer, horse medication.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, all it takes is a quick Google search to realize, oh, actually, it stops viral replication in vitro. It stops yellow fever. They treat malaria with it. There's all these different fucking diseases.
Millions of scripts have been written for it.
Billions.
Yeah.
Billions.
Millions.
Billions of prescriptions.
Billions.
And it's one of the safest drugs as far as like safety profile that we're aware of. It's on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines. And they tried to say it was a veterinary medicine, and I was a fool. Don't look at this fool. Forget about the fact that he's healthy in 3 days.
Yeah.
This guy's a loser.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Unbelievable.
It was crazy. And then the vaccine misinformation talk. Misinformation about vaccines. Bitch, I was talking to the guy who invented mRNA technology.
Yeah.
That's where the vaccine misinformation came from. Dr. Robert Malone, he owns 9 patents on the creation of vaccine, mRNA vaccine technology. And I was also talking to Dr. Peter McCullough. He was the other guy, the misinformation guy, who is the most published doctor in his field in human history.
That's insane. That
Rock
they could
solid
just go after
physician,
this guy.
most published in human history in his field.
Wow. Charlatan.
It was fascinating because instead of saying, why is Joe Rogan healthy so quick? What happened? Because it was the Delta, which is one everyone was scared of.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey guys, I got to cancel these. It was just me saying I got to cancel concerts because me and Dave Chappelle were supposed to be in Nashville that weekend. I was like, I got to cancel. I'm fine. I was sick for a couple days, but I took all this stuff. This is what I took and I'm better. We're going to reschedule. See you soon. And then this wave of bullshit and propaganda. And I was like, this is good. And calls for me to be deplatformed. And
yeah, I saw that with Spotify.
Absolutely fascinating. And thank God Spotify is not an American company. And Daniel Ek, who runs it, is a great guy who's
they stood with you.
Yeah. But it was like, boy, the pressure.
Had they been an American company, they might have actually.
Oh, if I was just on YouTube, I would have been fucked. It would have been over. They would have 100% pulled my show. I probably never would have bounced back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy, man. And then that's the way that they attack that kind of information. Now you see Zuckerberg's done a 180. I've heard you talk to him.
Well, he has to, because one of the things that Trump said that if I find out that you engaged in election interference, you're going to be in prison for the rest of your life. And he tweeted that. And I think everybody got really fucking scared because if he won, I mean, everybody was hedging their bets like, Jesus, if this guy wins, we could be in a real bad situation. And look, he won. And so now, you know, I don't know what's going to happen as far as prosecutions, but there's a lot of people that did a lot of really shady shit. How about the people that are involved in that Russiagate scandal? Like,
unbelievable.
None of those
to this
people,
day, what's wild is they can't produce a single vote that they can link to being altered by a Russian.
No.
This
not just that. The whole thing, the whole Steele dossier was financed by the Hillary Clinton campaign. Like this is it's crazy stuff, and it's right in front of everybody's face. So that was, to bring it back to your original question, that's what led me to have Trump on. I liked him. I enjoyed talking to him. We had fun. He's a fun dude, you know?
He rolled for 3 hours, like off the top of his head too.
Yeah. I mean, he's fine. Like people think he's like mentally compromised. He's fine. I have concerns with the immigration stuff. Like I did not like the fact that we had an open border and terrorists were flooding into the country. And not only that, they were shipping people to swing states. I'm like, and I listened to Elon talk about it, it's like they're literally buying the vote. They're putting up this gigantic magnet that pulls all these people in from all these countries. If you live in America and if you make $34,000 a year, you are in the 1% of the world. That's a crazy statistic. But when people want to say, oh, the 1%ers, man, 1%ers 34 grand, which is a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of America.
You make 34 grand, you're in the 1% of the world. You come here from another country and you get a construction job, you could be a 1%er, which is so of course, people are coming in here from all across the country. So now this is mass deportations. My fear is that there's going to get a lot of people that are going to get roped up in these mass deportations that are not criminals, that are not gang members, that are just people that were unfortunate and they were born in another place or they got political asylum and they came here. That's my fear. So I'm worried about the overcorrection.
Right.
You know, I do have a genuine concern about
be narrowed down to, you know, the worst of the worst for right now.
Supposedly. But there's a few cases. There's a gay hairdresser that supposedly was sent to the El Salvador prison who was a guy who sought political asylum from Venezuela, and he's not a gang member at all. But, you know, I don't know. This is Glenn Greenwald.
So you're saying deportation, but not to, obviously.
Yeah, well, they're sending him to a
prison.
fucking a supermax in El Salvador. You know, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But the overcorrections are a real problem. But the problem of gang members is a giant problem. And it's a giant problem that they were not just condoning, but they were putting up these sanctuary cities where they were arresting these gang members and then letting them go. The whole thing's crazy. They arrested gang members in California. They wouldn't allow the Trump administration to deport them.
Right.
It's
and not just arrested gang members that were actually charged with murder, for rape, for all kinds of insane crimes.
Yes. Somebody sent me this. God, I'm trying to remember who sent it to me. This one guy was so bad that the country that he was from would not take him back. He was such a fucking criminal. The country was like, we're not taking that guy back.
Why don't you just stick him in your maximum security prison? They just didn't even want him there.
Well, they didn't even want him there. So they're probably going to send him to El Salvador, which is El Salvador's like, come on, we just built this amazing prison.
We're trying to fill it up.
But that's the overcorrection, right? That's what people are scared of with totalitarian governments. They're scared of people going far left, and then they're scared of the rebound being far right. And we should be somewhere in a reasonable, compassionate.
I think that's where most of the country is. I mean, we were talking about it on the way here. It's like, it's not freedom of choice or freedom of expression. It's infringement of choice and infringement of expression. Yes,
but it's all really about power and control, and that's what's scary about all governments.
Yeah.
They always want more power. They always want more control.
And I'm highly supportive of the MAHA movement and the idea of getting poison out of our food supply.
Yes.
The idea of not limiting choice. You want to eat McDonald's, eat McDonald's. You want to vape. If you want to smoke a cigarette, smoke a cigarette. But if you know the consequences of those things. What you don't know is, when I take this water out of my tap and I'm drinking it because, I live in a civilized county.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the government has stood in the gap and is protecting me from toxins in there and toxins in my food supply. It doesn't mean that everything has to be organic. You can't eat an Oreo. What it means is when we put forever chemicals in, pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, preservatives, dyes, artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners. I mean, these chemicals that are banned in a lot of other countries, which means that there are ways to do this that are just a lot healthier for us.
Here's what's crazy. They're saying this is going to kill our business. Bitch, you already make them for other countries that don't have that stuff.
That's the craziest thing.
Yeah,
right? You're already doing it. You can't even make this argument.
You won't do it for us.
Yeah.
You want to sell us the really bright red Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
It's not.
Maybe they're just not as bright, but they're colored with beet juice instead of red dye number 3.
I don't think
And they're making some headway. And I pray that Bobby is successful and keeps a good, strong group around him. And I know there's a lot of influencers out there like yourself and myself that are trying to do everything we can to help support.
I think what you do and what I do, that's the most important thing, is live by example. Be healthy and talk about it and say, this is what I do and this can help you.
Yeah.
I think that's because the more influence you have in that regard, the more people will make healthy choices. I don't want them to get rid of Doritos. I like Doritos.
Yeah.
I know they're bad for me.
Yeah.
But when I eat them, I'm like, oh, yum, yum, yum. But I don't eat them. I don't eat them every day.
The MSG.
I don't eat them every day. I eat them
Yeah.
very, very rarely.
Yeah. No, I mean,
but I do like those MAHA chips.
dude, the MAHA are
They're
legit.
great because you get everything. Basically, you get out of Doritos. Not quite, but pretty close. But
Yeah.
you don't feel bad eating them.
Well, I mean,
Feel healthy.
they're non-GMO corn, grass-fed beef tallow, and sea salt in their
it.
basic version. And the
Yeah.
other ones are all the spices you would recommend.
Yeah.
But those are my kind of ingredients: non-GMO corn, grass-fed beef tallow,
Yeah.
sea salt. I'll take
Yeah.
that.
And there's
You know.
Vandry chips. I think it's the same
Vandy.
company.
Yes,
Vandy. That's
yeah.
right. Vandy chips.
Those are
Love those.
those are amazing.
So good.
You can smash a whole bag of those
Yeah,
just like
I
any.
do all the time.
But those
But
are
it's, again, just potatoes
Yeah.
and beef tallow
yeah.
and salt. That's it.
So and
That's
it's
what it should be. That's a
it's just
potato
so
chip.
amazing. It's like if you don't want to fuck up a ribeye, just cook it in grass-fed butter and put some Baja Gold
That's
salt
it.
on it. It'll be the best piece of steak you've
Yeah.
ever had. You don't need all the barbecues and everything else.
No.
Just grass-fed butter, ribeye.
But if
sea
you ever
salt.
want a little barbecue sauce, I'm American. I believe you should have the choice to have that sweet ass barbecue sauce.
I do think you
Go
should have the
it.
choice. But
if you want to have it, go have it. But just be aware that there's consequences. Like, I don't drink anymore, but if I wanted to have a drink, I can. I'm not an alcoholic,
Right.
but I know that it's bad for me, so I stopped drinking.
yeah.
But if I wanted to, like if I want to celebrate something and have a toast, who cares?
Right.
Just don't do it all the time. It's
Yeah.
like the same
the
thing with
80-20
almost
rule.
everything.
Yeah. I agree.
Have a piece of cake every now and then.
Yeah.
It's not bad for you, but don't eat cake every fucking meal.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not good for you.
But
It's like-
people do.
They do. But this is what's, I think, the best thing about what you do. It's like, live by example, talk about what's healthy, and then the more people hear it, and then they start to act upon that, and then they start feeling better. And once you start feeling better, you're like, man, I don't want to slip back because I've lost 20 pounds. I'm feeling great. Like I have a buddy of mine, my buddy John Reeves, who lives up in Alaska. He runs that thing. You ever hear about the Boneyard in Alaska?
Mm-mm.
He's got this incredible land. It's got all these woolly mammoths died on it for some reason, and they have
Really?
thousands of tusks. You never heard of the place?
No.
I'll show you some.
Boneyard.
The Boneyard Alaska is his Instagram page, but he's got this insane piece of. He's a gold miner, and they find all this shit, and they found this one area that's only a few acres that seems to align with this. It seems to align with this mass extinction event thing. Because,
Really?
Yeah, because they're finding all this stuff in a very small area of like a few acres where they found thousands and thousands of bones.
Really?
Yeah. So this is his.
Why would everyone be there?
Because they also find carbon, like a thick layer of carbon, like where there was a massive burn somewhere around 10,000, 11,000 years ago. So they find all these woolly mammoth tusks all over the place, and they're in the permafrost. So they hose them out of the permafrost with high pressure hoses, and then they pull them. He has warehouses filled with these tusks and bones. Not only that, they've identified animals that weren't even supposed to be living in Alaska.
Wow.
Yeah, they
Where's he
found-
getting the money to harvest all this
He's
stuff?
rich.
Oh,
He's
rich.
the biggest landowner in Alaska. He's awesome.
So,
and
this is a labor of love for him.
he's just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And, he's got an enormous collection of this stuff.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
wild.
it's incredible. But he's been on the carnivore diet over the last month. He lost 38 pounds. So
Hey,
he's
honey,
like
look-
so excited.
Oh, is this him?
Yeah, he's a giant dude.
Oh, okay. Yeah, wow.
Awesome guy.
Yeah, carnivore diet will do him good.
Yeah, so he quit smoking because he was dying. Went to the doctor. The doctor's like, you got to quit smoking. He goes, I just did. So he quit smoking.
Just cold turkey?
Yep, just cold turkey right there. And then started being healthy and
Good for
now
him.
He's lost a ton of
Dude,
weight.
this is wild. Dana's got a skull like this in his office with a big, like a saber-tooth skull.
tiger.
You seen that thing?
Yeah, I have. It's incredible.
It's one of like 2 or 3 in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's not many of the ones he has.
Intact, fully intact?
Fully intact. I think it's perfect. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But
he's another guy. It's like, his whole life has been smoking, not taking care of himself, drinking. And now he says, all right, we'll see. And he's like, I feel fucking great.
Yeah. And the nice thing about the human body is its capacity to really bounce back. I mean, never count it down. I've actually seen, livers shrink to the size of your fist, completely regenerate.
Really?
I mean, I've seen the radiographic images of these things with stem cell treatments and therapies. I feel like
otherwise we'd all be dead.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. In fact, the liver couldn't regenerate. Yeah,
we'd all be dead if the human body didn't have an amazing capacity to heal.
Yeah,
we'd all be fucked.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Joe, this has been amazing, man. I definitely want to come and chop it up with you again. Do we leave anything out?
I don't think so.
What?
If we did, we're going to do my podcast this week. So
okay, so we're doing your podcast this week. We covered the woolly mammoths. We covered
basically everything.
I wind down all of my podcasts by asking the same question. There's no right or wrong answer to this question. And it's what does it mean to you to be an ultimate human?
I never really thought of that. Well, I think if you're doing your best in all areas of life, I mean, you should be doing your best to be a nice person. You should be doing your best to be educated and to be charitable and compassionate and understand things to the best of your ability. And then be as healthy as you can. Figure out what you have to do to manage your mind, manage your body and your life. Just put in the work. Figure it out. And if you do that, you will be happier and healthier. Not just healthier physically, but healthier mentally, which will definitely help you become healthier physically. It's just about having this mindset that you want to do your best. You want to do your best with life. You want to, you have a short amount of time. I'm 57 years old. So I'm at the best case scenario, I'm halfway dead. Best case. I mean, if I make it to 120 years old, holy shit, the last 20 years are going to be rough.
Yeah.
Unless there's some incredible scientific breakthroughs, which it seems like there are. Do your best. You want to enjoy this. You want to enjoy this life. And if you're healthy physically and mentally, you'll have a better life.
I totally agree with you. Joe, appreciate you so much.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you very much.
Coming on. Can't wait to run yours too.
Right before the podcast, Joe and I were talking about my private VIP group. It's a private group where you get private podcasts, monthly live Q&A calls with me, exclusive discounts from all of our health partners. You can ask your most pressing health questions to leading professionals and pioneers and practitioners in the space. I even developed a 10-month course called Becoming the Ultimate Human, meaning the ultimate human version of yourself. Everything from nighttime routines to morning routines to sleep hacks to cold plunging to sun exposure, grounding, breath work, whole food dieting. All of my hacks for traveling are all in this 10-month course, and it's entirely free for VIPs. Guys, head over to theultimatehuman.com/VIP or just theultimatehuman.com. Sign up to be a VIP member, and Joe Rogan and I are heading into the private VIP chat now. I'll see you guys there.